Okay, so this is against 5-color Planeswalker control, a rather spicy brew. Um, my opponent's deck has like talismans and Planeswalkers and very unwieldy sorcery speed stuff, but he makes up for that with the inclusion of some cheap removal and the plan of getting an Oath of Druids onto the board in order to defend against very fast aggro-y starts from his opponent. Overall, I think the matchup should be quite okay because I'm running several very impactful high-end spells which match his powerful late game or is even a more powerful late game. Well, I'm starting slow with a tapped Staring Wildwood, while he has a rather fast start with a Mox Diamond. Let's see what he can come up with. So there's a City of Brass discarded and a Sylvan Library turn 1, which is pretty good because it offsets the disadvantage from the Mox. I have a turn 2, 3 Wizards. Let's see if I can follow that up with a 1-drop. Would be nice. I have a Restoration Angel in hand. This is nothing for now, but could come handy maybe later. So here's the Bayou, my colors are fixed. Green, black and white is online, double green, so there should be no problems on this front. And there's the Wild Growth, obviously targeting the plains because it's a basic land and therefore not as vulnerable to land destruction in the form of Wasteland, for example. So here's me fearing something like Vindicate, which would be brutal. I know he plays this, but overall I think my Wild Growth land should be rather safe. So here he takes an extra card, has offset the Mox Diamond, and I think there should be maybe a 3-color Planeswalker on his side or something like Mana Stone into Mana Stone. Okay, here's the Mana Stone number 1. Maybe he has nothing else, passes the turn. Could symbolize or symbolizes a counter. Could maybe a bluff or an end of turn Tainted Pact. I don't know for sure. In the end, I do not vary that much about what he could have and just play my cards, like as the mana cost of the cards demand. There's an Tireless Tracker into Oath of Nissa. I chose to play the tracker first because he could have something like Force Spike or maybe Sensor, a small text counter, maybe a Daze. So I'd rather have my Tireless Tracker resolved than my Oath of Nissa. That's because and that's why I sequenced it this way. He looks again at 3 cards. I think there's a land, not sure. He just takes 1 this time. Could mean he has no removal for the tracker, but could also mean there's only 1 good card in the top 3 and he has a fetch land to shuffle his library and see new cards next time. So not very much to be read out of this. Mystic Gate, there's the fetch, getting rid of potentially 2 bad cards on top of his library. This kind of indicates that he's going to use a lot of mana this time. Not sure. He might be just willing to shuffle. We'll see. If my tracker lives here, I think I'm in a pretty good shape. Okay, here's the 5 mana tap out Gideon, which is likely ticking up, forcing me to attack him next turn. I still have a fetch uncracked, which can create another clue. So value-wise, I'm looking fine. Now I have to get rid of the Gideon or maybe create a board where the Gideon is not all that good. I still have Resto in hand, I think 2 lands. The fetch creates another clue, as I said. I could attack Gideon down to 2 with Tireless Tracker and Stirring Wildwood, but preferably I just advance my board with another drop. Let's see what I have. Okay, just a swing with the tracker. And a Titania, getting back a land. I'm missing many clue triggers here. Okay, no, I just I think I verbally announced them and then rearranged the die. Titania is pretty good on this board, threatening to create 2 5/3 elementals. Cracking my 2 fetches will create another 2 clues. The opponent has Swords to Plowshares and Tainted Pact. I didn't see the other card or didn't recognize it. Could be a dig through time. Not really sure. I'm offering my Tireless Tracker to the Gideon should he decide to tick it down, but it's not the end of the world. Tracker has done some serious business by creating 4 or more like 6 clues. He has to have a very good answer right here. I'm still holding Resto, so if I'm able to untap with Titania in play, I threaten a rather powerful play by blinking her again, which will rebuy another land, create another token, maybe protect her from a removal spell. Okay, he taps 6 and has Terminus, which is pretty good right there. Leaving me with no creatures on the board, and his Gideon has free reign to attack for 6. Okay, some rather sloppy play here. I already said these are casual games. We did not play very tight. Apologies for that. So I crack my fetches to create 2 another clues while the track was still on the board with Terminus on the stack. Making sure by rewinding that the 2 bottom cards of my library are still the 2 creatures that he Terminused away. Now he's coming with his Gideon swinging. I should be at something like 11. I think I cracked 2 fetches plus 1 again, which was bought back by the Titania. Now -6 should be 11. Maybe I missed something, I don't know. I also cracked a clue end of turn. And now let's see what I got. Surely Restoration Angel wouldn't be that hard of a play right there. This is 6 mana. And it's an Oblivion Sour. I'm kind of testing this. Well, I'm kind of testing the whole deck, but this one is a creature I'm not really sure about. Always when I play against it, it kind of overperforms, like getting lands which were delved away, or getting some very special lands with abilities. Here it's rather mediocre by only getting a Savannah from my opponent, but it's still a 5/8 body, so it's not too bad. Is it 5/8? I don't even know. It's just like rather humongous. Two more mana. Might be a crack of a clue. No, I think I'm playing. I'll play Overgrown Battlement from my hand, leaving me with just Restoration Angel. Okay, I think I just pass, valuing the crack of a clue a little more than the random 04. My mana is pretty set up. I got like 4, 6, 8, 9 mana, so which this does allow me to cast almost everything I have in my deck, besides the most expensive spells, and I'd rather find action in this situation here. If he has another removal for my Sour, cracks again with the Gideon, I'm falling down to 5, which is kind of a dangerous life total, because then a third Gideon hit would be lethal. So this is something to be aware of. Okay, here he has fast spawned, which is not all that scary right now. Maybe if he can find Crucible or Life from the Loam, this gets a little bit more dangerous. Okay, so he's Tainted Pacting. There's a Vindicate, would be a removal for the Sour. He's thinking if he can do better. He should have a Swords to Plowshares in hand. Or maybe he didn't take Swords to Plowshares last time around because he took Terminus and Tainted Pact. I think those were the 3 cards. Not quite sure. Okay. There's Vindicate on the Sour, and again Gideon has free reign to come in. I'm cracking my clue. 4 left. Down to 5 now. There's Lotus, Cobra and Nissa. Okay, so I can get to the board again, just dump some stuff, threaten the Gideon. Think I'm in a good shape. I mean, active Sylvan Library is always kind of scary. My opponent will see 3 fresh new cards next turn. The Gideon is kind of dangerous, but against a Resto in hand, fetch land which can come, jump and block my plant tokens, I think I'm safe for now. All things being equal, my board will win against his as it stands right now, because Nissa can go ultimate, but much time has to pass before this can happen. So here he has Ensnaring Bridge, Azorius Signet, and Raska the Unseen, which can kill a permanent by taking down a 5 mana Planeswalker. It's not played that often. I think it's a little bit overcosted for its effect, but it's quite potent here. He can take out Manisa and then maybe take up Gideon as to force me to attack Gideon next turn, and by that protecting his own Raska. I think that's a likely line. Ensnaring Bridge is kind of not what he wants right now, I think, because his Gideon loses the ability to threaten me, and I'm not putting on that much pressure, so he doesn't need to defend in an immediate way. Opponent's in the tank, thinking. Okay, he takes again 2 cards. I think should be Azorius Signet and Raska. So he can dig a little deeper next turn with his Sylvan Library. Yeah, there's the Signet. And the Walker. It's funny because I should remember these games, but they're kind of like 2 weeks away now, and I already forgot most of it. Yeah, as I said, there's the Walker killing mine, and then a tick up of the Gideon, and a pass. So I crack a clue and then crack another clue. I'm not playing my resto here. I kind of want to hold it back because it's a surprise factor, and it would have to attack Gideon next time around. I only have 6 power on the board, so that's not too attractive. I think I made a mistake by fetching so many dual lands so early, or maybe like I have my Bayou, is my only swamp in the deck. I have my Savannah and my Temple Garden, and my plains, which are actually all my plains in the deck. So Marsh Flats on the outside left of the screen, but on my side, is completely dead. I cannot get any land with this. Might be a deck building error, or maybe an unfortunate or like a careless fetching of too many of my white lands, or my dual lands rather. Which could have been avoided. I think my mana would have been fine even by not getting Temple Garden, for example. Or Savannah, for that matter. Okay, the clues kind of converted into some good stuff. I found Voice of Resurgence and Deathrite Shaman. 2 nice threats, which I deploy here. Nothing too immediate, but they will prove useful, I think, down the line. Still have 2 clues left, so Tireless Tracker has really done its thing here. I also have Sylvan's Crying, which is interesting. I can use it to find Eye of Ugin, which can find me my game-winning threats. I could also get Gaia's Cradle, but that's not very strong because my mana is already so good. I already have so much mana. I think Eye of Ugin should be the play here. We'll see what I get. I have no Maze of Ith. Maze of Ith would be a possibility, but I do not run it. Okay, I'm getting Gaia's Cradle, it's interesting. I don't know if I have drawn an expensive spell by that time. Maybe I have a fat Eldrazi in hand, not really sure. Could it be I'm holding Ulamog? Okay, I guess we'll see. I'm holding up my Restoration Angel because there's always the danger of a sweeper, which would catapult my opponent ahead. Okay, Voice will come back, but then I have to jump Gideon with the leftover Elemental, so I'd rather stay safe and have a surprise blocker and maybe like a blink effect to counter a removal. Mm-hmm. Treasure Cruise. Yeah. That's the kind of spell that can get my opponent back into this. There's Mystical Tutor also. And Tabernacle, which is good, but not too good. Kinda cancels out my Gas Cradle. Which means that if I'm holding Ulamog, I'm now prevented from playing him. I don't know what sex or gender Ulamog has. I think he's a male because Emrakul's it's a female. I don't know. Okay, Gideon again ticks up, and there's an ensnaring bridge with my opponent having 2 cards in hand, I think. So I have to use my Deathrite Shaman then, so that he does not attack and is wasted. I have to attack with my voice next turn. I'm not playing Resto here because I still think it doesn't really do anything. It now cannot attack through the ensnaring bridge. I'd rather be cracking clues. Okay, what have I drawn? There's still this Overgrown Battlement. There is this Restoration Angel. I think there's a Talisman of Unity, but I'm not really sure. I think I have Ulamog. I really think I do. Unfortunately, I do not have 10 mana because, as I said, my Marsh Flats cannot fetch for any land, so it's only 9 mana available. Next time Raska is able to vindicate something, so I have to watch out for this. My Talisman, possibly 10 mana next turn. There's the wall. Just making sure I have enough blockers for Gideon after I attack. Because I have to attack because of Gideon's ability. Yeah, here I'm using Deathrite because I do not want him to be wasted, draining my opponent for 2. And here's the mandatory attack with the voice and the plant. I'm sorry. Yeah, he has end of turn Mystical, which should give me an elemental token. Which I miss, I guess. Oh my. Oh no, I don't. He could get a Wrath effect, wouldn't be the worst. He cannot attack me with Gideon as long as his own ensnaring bridge is on the board, so I think he needs something to completely dominate the board. I don't know, maybe a really powerful Planeswalker or Hmm. Not really sure. I don't even know if I like him playing Ensnaring Bridge. It kind of offsets his ability to threaten with Gideon, and that was something I was fearing all the time. He could get rid of his own bridge with Raskar, but that seems kind of weak. Yeah, I don't really know what the best card here is, and I think the fact that he's searching for such a long time tells me that he isn't sure either. Because he needs, I think, several cards that kind of get him ahead on different axes. Like he needs a little bit more cards, raw cards in hand. He needs a little bit more on the board because, funnily enough, in this matchup, I think he does not have inevitability. So if I have enough time, I will overpower him with my Eldrazi. I mean, he has Emrakul in his list, that much I know, but he can only get it into play with Oath of Druids, and that will be not that easy. So he tutors for Intuition. Okay, so he's getting, I think, a Life from the Loam package, which goes together well with his Fast Bond, and it's actually quite the thing I just mentioned. He needs to get more cards in hand, more options, needs to attack on different angles, and kind of exert more influence over several axes of the game. I think that's the correct play. It's a very fine play to tutor for Intuition here. I mean, because he just doesn't have something like a fireball effect in his deck. That would obviously be like the best thing he could have here. Hmm. He's thinking when to play this, or to play this main phase, or maybe pass the turn again. I think he should play it now because he's most likely getting a cycle land, and then can use the cycle land to see a fresh card, or maybe dredge Loam again, play it again. Also, by casting this during my turn, he's giving me another elemental, so I think there's actually no discussion. He should just cast this now, and he does. If I were him, I think I'd be getting Wasteland, Life from the Loam, and Lonely Sandbar. Wasteland can take care of my Cradle, and together with Fast Bond will decimate my mana rather quickly. And the Tabernacle will exert its Stranglehold much more efficiently than it does now. While Lonely Sandbar will slowly net him the extra cards he needs. I think this would be my pile, and cannot think of a third card here that is better than a cycle land. Oh, okay. Raven's Crime. That's also interesting. It's kind of the opposite. Not netting him cards, but letting me discard cards. And yeah, might actually be better because he already has card flow in the form of Sylvan Library. Didn't think about Raven's Crime. It's pretty good here. Although he does not have Urborg, I think, and he doesn't have that much black mana. Maybe two between Underground Sea and this Talisman of Dominance, is it? If it's a black-blue talisman, I'm not really sure. Could be white-blue. Could be any talisman, really. Oh, okay, I see. He did cast Intuition with the Sylvan Library trigger on the stack. This was why he was thinking for so long when to cast it. It's also pretty clever because it kind of incentivizes me to give him Life from the Loam in hand so that he cannot dredge Loam with his remaining 2 draws from Sylvan Library. Mox Diamond, Underground Sea Bayou, and maybe this Talisman are his black sources right now, but they will surely become even more because he can fetch again after playing Loam and because of Fast Bond. I don't know how many life points he's left. I think it shouldn't be too much either because he drew 2 extra cards, I think, with the library, and has cracked quite some fetches. Maybe around 8, 7, 9, something like this. So there's Life from the Loam. Getting back Wasteland and Windswept Heath. Takes another point from Fastbond. Okay. My Cradle goes. That was kind of expected. It will be interesting if he places Windswept Heath in order to go down to 0 cards in hand for the bridge, but he will take another point from Fastbond. But just as me, he doesn't have to fear any direct damage from my side. Okay, here's a tick down of Raska on my Deathrite, but I have the Restoration Angel for the rescue, and I think he made a slight misstep here because he ticked up Gideon first, and then used Raska to kill Deathrite Shaman because he was just very sure that this would work and didn't have Restoration Angel on his radar. He should have just let Gideon stay on the counters he had at the beginning of the turn, use Raska, and then he could have used Gideon now to kill Deathrite Shaman after my Resto resolved. Okay, he's not playing Windswept Heath, of course, but he's discarding it to Raven's Crime. I have Lotus Cobra to ditch, so it's not the worst for me. Could get ugly if I won't be able to cast Ulamog, which I have, and have to discard that. Let's see, I have 3, 7, 8, 9 mana, and one of the mana elves can pay for the other, so I actually have Ulamog this turn. I think 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Overgrown Battlement pays for Deathrite Shaman. Yeah, should work. And he's empty-handed, so I think I have this locked up here. Wasteland gone, and there's Ulamog. I think at this point I'm not afraid of Gideon anymore. I have a chump blocker in the form of the plant. I have Ulamog itself, which is indestructible. I'm just taking Ensnaring Bridge and Sylvan Library as to limit his top decking options. He can tick up Gideon to force Ulamog to attack Gideon, which will leave Gideon at 1 counter, but this is only delaying the inevitable, I think. He's thinking about dredging. He maybe wants to hit, I don't know. Yeah, he's drawing raw. That's the right choice, I think. He needs something like Council's Judgment or Swords to Plowshares. Or Caracas. I think that's why he thought about dredging, having 3 shots at Caracas. But I think it's still correct to draw the card normally, because there should be a little bit more outs by doing it this way. Like the chances to draw an out are higher. Oh, okay, he drew Lonely Sandbar. It's not the worst. Cycles, he dredges Loam, trying to hit Caracas. Can then Loam again to get back Lonely Sandbar. Cycle Lonely Sandbar to maybe draw Swords or Caracas. So he has quite some looks this time. This turn. Lonely Sandbar being, I think, a rather good top deck. But he has to hit in the within the next 2 turns, or he will be dying to Ulamog. Also, Ulamog might be randomly hitting his deck with its mill ability and exile all of his remaining winning cards, like win conditions. He's not that dense on them. He has some Planeswalkers which are able to win the game, and Ulamog, Emrakul. But overall, there are not that many cards that win him the game. I mean, he obviously plays no other creature, or I mean, not obviously, but he plays no other creature besides Emrakul, so there's not an easy way like removing my Ulamog and then crashing in with some stuff. He has to kind of sculpt his win slowly and have specific cards in order to achieve this, to achieve a win. Okay, there's the tick up, kind of giving him another turn. And what's that? 4 mana is kind of exciting, I think. Okay, Jace, Architect of Thought. Again, 3 looks. Yeah, like, these cards don't do anything right now. I have a better skull in hand. And Tireless Tracker came around again after being terminused away so early. Yeah, he's taking the Fatal Push to get rid of Deathrite Shaman, which is also threatening a win, because his life total is very low right now. Okay, Deathrite down. I'm fine with that. Ulamog might just do the job, I think. The funny thing is, I do not even have to remember Tabernacle, because Tabernacle oddly says that creatures are destroyed and not sacrificed if you do not pay their upkeep costs. So indestructibility gets around this. You do not have to pay for your indestructible cards when Tabernacle is around. I had some funny situations come up with Boros Charm. Like, opponent Boros charmed his permanents, didn't need to pay, then played Elspeth or something like that, and kind of took over the game, which I thought was locked up because my opponent couldn't cast any spells or would have had to sacrifice all his creatures, and then Boros Charm came around and like turned it all around. Okay, there's an attack with the Ulamog, attacking Gideon because I have to. I'm milling quite some stuff. Some good hits there. Oh wait, why is Ulamog down? Kind of miscounted loyalty, I think. There's Better Skull and Tracker. And I think he's not very long for this world. Dredge's Bolas, Dredge's Damio. 2 win conditions. Possible out to Ulamog. It's not going too well now for my opponent. Gets back the cycle land to see more cards, find an answer. Digging. Oh yeah, he could also win with the Crucible Fast Spawn Zurun Orb combo, but I think Ulamog hit Zurun Orb the first time. So even that route was closed. Many lands in hand for my opponent. It's not quite sure if he even would have won with the Zurun Orb. I think I could have milled him out.